Self-doubt is something that I've dealt with for a long time, but I don't even know where I want to go with that. When thinking about self-doubt, I tend to... When self-doubt is something that comes to my head, I really have a tough time trying to overcome and see through. Jeez, I doubted myself talking about self-doubt. Self-doubt comes in many different forms that can either feel in my face for a long time or almost completely sudden, such as that feeling when someone asks me, "Who are you?" When I've been asked different forms of this question in my life, there's a big urge to describe myself in my own perception and make myself sound as this super kind person who knows all about the good and bad in life. The real truth is, forcing myself to try getting everyone to like me creates more of an emotional burden than simply just paying attention to what's in front of me and living life in the present moment. Engaging with your thoughts is a dangerous game because our thoughts are so heavily influenced by the judgments and perceptions of others that your mind has adapted over time. It's important to cause no harm to the people around you, even when taking care of yourself. But it's just as important to know that solely what you think is just what you think, and without also feeling that what you're doing is right doesn't mean that you should force yourself to believe that it's right. Your brain collects up all the information from the senses before it decides upon a story of what happens. The strange consequences that you live in the past. Quote by David Eagleman. It's tiring enough to get through a really tough exam you just put yourself through from what you studied, maybe didn't study, or even just trying to find the right amount of a certain tip percentage for a service using the methods you've learned throughout your time in school. What isn't really discussed out loud to what truly puts our brain in shambles is making the assumption of what someone will think without even having a conversation with that person. Oftentimes in my life, I refuse to ask something that would have been helpful to get an answer to, because I worry how people will perceive what I'm trying to do even though I know little to nothing about everything that they've already seen before. The bigger problem with this, besides mental exhaustion for myself, is that the majority of people living on Earth today are having these same thoughts. It's almost a challenge of who will do the unconventional action first. It says if we put so much time and effort into presumptions that we leave ourselves so vulnerable to words and too tired to take action in doing something. This often seems to lead up to the reasons why I've abandoned so many ideas and goals that initially felt like a good thing before. The times where I personally have felt the most fear and start doubting myself to such a degree I believe that the matter at hand isn't even worth it, is when I haven't even put in the effort to try. Outside of simply going against the law, there's an endless amount of opportunity in the world today for people to try something, anything. Yet we fear of messing up or failing so deeply that we won't even allow ourselves to mess up. In recent years, the more I learned has come from doing something and learning another way of doing it. Even in creativity, there's no necessary right way, but there are ways to create something that feels right to you, whether it's perfect or not. Striving for perfection down the road instead of putting in the effort and messing up to learn from what went wrong in the first place commonly leaves you with a lot less than what was originally desired, or even nothing in the end. Many people mistake their definition of dream with the end goal in a particular process. I know that may sound crazy without any context, but I've came to the realization of this when I've tried to start something similar to this channel multiple times, and had no foundation leading up to my aspirations. Although the thoughts of how my life could be with a certain dream I have for myself, I take all my focus out of the present and struggle with how I'm going to create my dream. Something I heard recently while trying to find the meaning behind what truly matters in making a dream a reality, from listening to Kobe Bryant's various interviews, is it's not the destination, it's the journey. That's the dream, he says. Since hearing this, I've thought so much about that phrase in everything I strive to do now. If I'm not passionate about the work I have to put in to reach the prize of personal satisfaction and happiness in the end, then how will I know or even feel that I've succeeded? Life has so many twists and turns that an exact form of the end goal has a very little chance of becoming reality, and almost no chance of consistently turning out that way. For the longest time, I thought about doing something like this and constantly doubting myself with the fact that I don't know everything, especially now just starting adulthood, which is completely true. On the other hand, if I waited until I felt I did know everything or just the right moment to do something like this, I could wait forever without even putting a single ounce of effort into my journey to my end destination. One thing I am knowledgeable of in life, to a high degree, is what I've already lived through. The problem with this is I've often let this be an anchor to my path in life and made me afraid to do or even say anything that hasn't been done or said in the present time. You right now sitting here and listening to this video is something your past self a month ago, or even a little sooner, didn't know you were going to do. You just did it now. Once you go out and do something, even if it was a mistake, it only turns into something to look back on and maybe learn from. Our personal past has many aspects that can shape who we are as a person currently. But turning it into a definition of who we are today, in a world that constantly goes through changes, does nothing but drive ourselves to avoidable stress. It becomes easier to get motivated the more I hear and tell myself to go out and just do it. Not sponsored. What always causes this to become more difficult in the future, or even being pleased with the fact that I did what I did, is that the result is nothing as I expected it, or how I believe it should turn out to be. The idea of creating something new for yourself isn't only about trying it, but more so putting two or more things together that usually don't go together in your mind. How many times have you watched the how-to tutorials on YouTube or another form of social media, and even following the steps it doesn't turn out the way it should look? It's not just me, alright? I promise. I'm following the directions. Just leave me alone. It doesn't really matter if what you do isn't how you envisioned it, or how anybody else envisioned it. As long as you put effort and care into what you did, you should be proud of yourself for just doing it, because you have the ability to try. Between other people and myself, it's often been said that there's no time for me to take breaks when the world moves fast and hard work is so crucial in modern society. The point that is often missed about this idea is that without prioritizing your mind and body, along with the tasks at hand, the work isn't being pursued at your full potential. If needed, take some time before or after work to calm and soothe yourself, or even take a short break at work to go on a walk or do something to make yourself more comfortable. The other side of this case is do not get too comfortable, as much more time with peace has resulted in me personally getting very deep into my comfort zone. As a result, I allow myself to think for the future and often procrastinate, not worrying about what I should do now. Having enough challenges and tasks in the present moment to keep yourself and mind occupied often prevents you from your worries about the future and even those clouded thoughts based on hypotheticals. I've had a lot of ideas for what I've envisioned my future success turning out to be, in the form of if I do X, then that'll get me to Y, or if I just wait for X to happen, then I can start doing Y. All this did was not only delay my future plans, but in most cases created unlimited space for not believing in myself, and even opportunities passing me by. At one point it took these as regrets, or certain moments in life I didn't cherish as much as I should have, and maybe wish I never did. But now I know that those are all learning lessons in life, and there's an unlimited opportunity to grow the longer you live on this planet. Stop waiting on the future you that's so amazing, or the past self that was filled with better days, because you right now are the most realistic and special version of yourself in time. Right now you can do anything you want to be the best you can be, because your true self is not your thoughts. It's even better.